well, that says 6. So it is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025, and I call this business meeting of the Elizabeth School District Board of Education to order at 6 p.m. Can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Here.
Director Fletcher.
Here.
Director Hunt.
Present.
Director Olson.
Here.
And Director Powell.
Here.
All right, let's stand for the pledge.
New seats throws me off.
Yeah, I know. I almost answered on behalf, someone else's behalf. Oops.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I move that the board approve the business meeting agenda for August 12, 2025 as presented. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Powell.
Aye.
Okay, I move the board approve the board meeting minutes from, got a few, June 23rd, 2025, June 30th, 2025, and July 18th, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Okay. All right, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
And Director Powell.
Aye.
Okay, next up we have communications. First up, board member reports. I'll kick it off. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our newest board member, Nicole Hunt. We are excited to have her on our team. Yesterday was our district convocation at the high school, and I must say it was so nice seeing everybody. The teachers were excited, staff was excited, everybody was excited, and Singing Hills won Spirit Stick.
They did.
But Dan will cover more about some of the stuff we talked about, our academic initiatives. So.
I would second what you say. We haven't done much. Summer break, so convocation was good, and welcome, Nicole.
Thank you.
I have nothing to add. Sounds good.
Well, I wanted to say thank you to the board for your vote of confidence in allowing me to fill this vacancy position, and just to say it's been a pleasure getting to know all of you, and I'm really looking forward to working with you in the months ahead. I wanted to also say that it's really been a fun time to come into the board. I think within the first week, I was attending a leadership training that was led by the superintendent with all of the leaders in the school district. And then last week we had 2 back-to-back trainings with the teachers on classroom management as well as direct instruction. And it just made me very hopeful for the year ahead. I think that the teachers are going to have a lot of tools that they can look to as they look at trying to help the kids advance to grow academically, which is the primary goal of our board, that we would pursue academic excellence to set the kids up for success. And so I just want to say thank you for welcoming me in and letting me just jump, head first into all of our training and be able to get to know the folks here in the district. So thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to serving the families of the district and most importantly, helping the students be academically successful.
Thank you.
Well, again, welcome. I'm so glad that you're with us, so thank you very much. I went to the trainings also, the one by Zach Rochelle, which was our direct and explicit instruction. And that was a great thing. Zach Rochelle is such an amazing trainer. And then I also went to the CHAMPS one, which is the classroom management one. And the premise, the kind of, in a nutshell, the premise of our direct and explicit instruction is having the instructional time be focused, be on target, and kind of go through a series of I do, meaning the teacher teaches. We do, meaning the teacher works with the kids to understand it together. And then once they have achieved mastery, they try it on their own. So it's kind of I do, you do, we do.
I do,
no,
we do,
I do,
you
we
do.
do, you do. I knew I was going to do what you said. And so that was kind of the gist of that, and he did an amazing job, and it was very good. And he's been working with our principals, so the principals are all on board with this. And then I learned for both of these trainers, they're going to be coming back in the fall, and they're going to be going into classrooms directly with our teachers, and just kind of seeing the implementation of it, giving suggestions for tweaks, and I'm very excited to see that. And then the CHAMPS one was, the CHAMPS stands for, the C is conversation, H is help, A is activity, M is movement, P is participation, and S is success. And it's kind of, the conversation is kind of, what voice level does this activity require? Is this a you have to be silent, so 0 voice? Or is this a group discussion, so it's 3 or 4? And then help, how do I get help? Do I raise my hand? Do I get up and run up to the teacher? What am I allowed to do? And then activity is what are we doing? Movement is, do I have to sit still in my desk, or can I get up and move around the room? Participation is individual or single. Is it with a group or is it by myself? And success is celebrating the success afterwards. This is a really good tool because it really gives the kids the expectations for each thing that you do in the classroom. And so she did a great job in describing that to everybody, and so I'm very excited. And again, both of these consultants are going to be coming in, and so I'm very excited about that, and I think that we are off to a really great start for the year.
I'd like to add one thing, if I may. I've talked to a number of teachers and administrators over at the Running Creek this week, and they have nothing but good things to say about our new principal over there.
Yay.
I hear nothing but good things. They are super excited. They feel that she's going to support them. Classroom help them understand, classroom management thing. I just really, I'm super excited.
That's great
Me
to
too.
hear.
Me too.
Good.
You are up.
Okay. Well, a lot of start of the school information just for parents who are watching. Thursday is a first day for 6th and 9th graders, so they come for a portion of the day. It's a chance for them to kind of run through their schedule, get to know their building before the other students arrive. So really a great chance for students. I really applaud this district for doing that. It's really overwhelming for a 6th grader or 9th grader to walk into that large building and be overwhelmed with students who know where they're going when they don't. So anyways, so that's Thursday. Friday is the first day for secondary students, so middle and high school students. All students start on Friday. So it's kind of a soft start on a Friday. They'll do a run through of their entire schedule. Monday, a run through of their entire schedule. Good setup, as you mentioned, some of the training that our teachers have had, a great opportunity for them to have their students consistently for a couple of days before they go into their block schedule. And then elementary students begin full-time on Monday. There's assessment activities happening at the elementary schools. Each school has a little different twist, but all focused on let's get to know our students, assess where they are, really make a plan for the year, make sure that we get student groups and things like that put together, and really get to know students on a smaller basis. So again, for elementary parents who hopefully have already received multiple communications on that, if not, reach out to your elementary school and they can give you the rest of the details. Convocation is something we have started to do every year. It's kind of a pep rally, if you will, for our staff, just to focus them on what it is our focus is for the year, what are the challenges that we're facing, what are the things we are expecting, really setting clear expectations. And Spirit Stick competition has been something that's been fun now for 3 years. Singing Hills has been in the running each year for that Spirit Stick, and I know each year they feel like they've been edged out, so it was nice to see them get that recognition this time. But I will say, I think just gauging all of the enthusiasm on our school's parts, it was a tough competition. So, I mean, definitely, I think Singing Hills, including reading in their chant, probably was the edge.
Anyway, over the line.
Teacher training, you've already heard both Mary and Nicole were able to attend our Safe and Civil Schools training and our direct instruction training. I appreciate your being there. It means a lot to our staff to see board members, and so to have as many of you able to be at convocation as well, that means a lot to our staff. So the fact that you were there and our teachers knew you were there, that meant a lot to them. And we've heard some really great feedback from our teachers about the training. I actually had some teachers on Friday say it was probably the best training they've ever been to. So, so our Safe and Civil Schools. So, you know, it's hard to take 2 days from teachers when they're trying to get their minds on my room. I got to get it ready. Kids are coming. and to have 2 days, but that I think has worked out pretty well based on the feedback we've received so far. We have not done a survey yet, and it's something I've encouraged Kim Moore to do so we can get broad feedback from teachers. Summer work, I've shared in my newsletter to community. We've had a lot of things going on this summer, some continued work on the Singing Hills well, just to make sure that it's functioning completely. Continuing on some parking lots, we were a little disappointed that our repairs were not as far as we had hoped at the middle school. We have patched the potholes and have done the section that was causing some bus challenges, where we had some rippled asphalt going across and entering the school. So that is still to be done. All of our parking lots have been restriped, so I don't know if you've been by the schools. I know Convocation, you got to see the high school was restriped, so all of our parking lots are restriped, which always helps with where do I park? So,
Well, it also was pretty cool, all the painting they did
Oh,
in all
yeah.
the different
Yeah.
spots. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Have they
yeah.
always done that?
Yeah, seniors get to paint their parking spots. So
Okay.
once they get their
Nice.
assigned spot, they
Uh-huh.
can, they
So
they
that's
come
kinda
in.
cool.
Yeah, and they
Have fun.
come in with some creativity there. So anyways, just really compliment our custodial teams and our maintenance teams on the work that got done this summer. It was a lot of work, and painting the entire middle school and all of those challenges certainly were not easy. Do want to talk a little about Frontier. So Frontier, we have the roof repair underway. We are looking for some dry weather. As much as we need this rain, it has made it very difficult. They don't want to obviously open up the roof any further, and so they are ready to go. They have been monitoring the weather and looking for a dry streak. But right now the building is still safe, and we continue to check to assess its condition. Do want to let the community know we are looking for a vendor for a cafeteria or kitchen in Frontier. So one of the things Justin has been working really hard is to make sure that building use is maximized. And so we've had a few vendors that have reached out to us about it, but I do want to publicly announce if there's anyone in the community looking for kitchen space, whether they're a food truck or a caterer. We have a kitchen that obviously needs some work, so that would be part of the agreement, is they could use it, but they'll need to bring it back up to speed. But really trying to continue to get Frontier used a little more. That vendor would be a great asset to our charter school next year, ICA, as it opens, as well as to the homeschool program. So if the vendor wanted to provide food service to those programs, it would be an opportune place for them to be. So anyways, just anyone interested in the community who might have folks who are in the food service business that are looking for a kitchen space, reach out to Justin Henry, our Chief Financial Officer here. If they call the main number, we can get them transferred to him so they can explore that further. And then I do want to just emphasize, I know there's been a lot of chatter about our legal case and, it's costing the district. We've really been fortunate with a lot of the outside fundraising to really have the impact on the district limited. We've had tremendous outpouring of support from people across Colorado and across the nation, organizations who have contributed to that. And so I want to continue to emphasize that that's been an important part of our work as a board and as a superintendent, is to make sure that we are reaching out to limit any and all possible impact on the district, because obviously we want to make sure that we defend ourselves in this case and limit the impact on our budget. So wanted to set the record straight. I know there's people out there who are saying we have 5 firms, 4 firms, whatever. We have a great team of attorneys. Some of them are volunteering their time, but they have a particular expertise in our case, which is why they are registered on the case. But we do not have 5 different firms trying to defend us. We actually have an amazing powerhouse team who are working to defend that lawsuit, and we're very fortunate to have them. So I think with that, that's it, unless there's any questions the board has. Things that maybe I forgot to mention.
What's the status of middle school gym?
Middle school gym is actually, the floor should be done in the next couple of weeks. We did find, after they stripped the floor, we found some rotten boards. We found some wet that had gotten under, so they actually had to replace some boards, which slowed down that process. But we should have it. There's a date between the 20th, which would be 3 days into the start of school, to the end of that week. Right now is when we expect target completion. So, okay. All right.
Okay, well, with that, public comment. Do we have anybody?
Two.
All right. First up, we have Lindsay Cutter.
Just hold down the mic for a second.
The
The light will turn
light
on.
comes on.
Yeah,
Yep, there you go.
Hi and welcome. My name is Lindsay Cutter and this is my 23rd year in education in Colorado. I've taught science in the middle school setting all of these years except when I was at 2 elementaries. This is my 4th year teaching at EMS, and I have come tonight to share my expertise and experience with utilizing classroom animals to be an effective science teacher in the middle school. When I began my teaching career in Brighton, I was fortunate enough to have retiring teachers gift me all of their classroom artifacts, to include 4 snakes, a tarantula, and Madagascar hissing cockroaches. I didn't realize at the time how much of an impact these pets would have on my educational philosophy. Teaching science should not only include direct instruction, hands-on activities in labs, and teamwork, but also classroom animals. To aid in this wide variety of instruction, my expectations for students in the science classroom include respect, responsibility, problem solving and communication, teamwork and collaboration, and resilience and grit. My reptiles, which I have one snake right now, Colombian red-tailed boa named Rocky, and Rango, a bearded dragon, they aid me in holding students accountable and to a high standard for their learning. First, my reptiles get students to actually come to school and most are extremely excited to have these animals in the class. I'm able to build strong rapport with my students for this reason. They see me excited as an educator, which in turn entices their curiosity and wonder for all science curriculum. I use holding the reptiles as a reward and incentive to work hard on final tests, projects, and even taking notes in class. Students don't know which day I'll feed the snake or get them out to hold, so they are more apt to come to school regularly. I love this community, and since it's a small town, younger students know that in 8th grade, Miss Cutter has reptiles in her classroom and look forward to being in this class. Previous students recall that they loved holding, feeding, and just being around the reptiles. This last year, students and myself were sad to hear of my 2 snakes that passed. Shorty is a snake that I've had for 23 years, longer than any animal in my life. And although they may be just a reptile, they're still pets. They wrote cards, checked in on me, and I know this is because of the relationships I've built with them. Safety is of major concern for me, and I don't take that responsibility lightly. For over 10 years, I've also volunteered as an instructor at an equine leadership camp during the summer. Just as I take safety seriously at horse camp, I also do this for my classroom. Starting the first day, I set the tone for my class to be a positive environment where we all respect each other and take care of each other. My reptiles, which I pay for out of my own pocket, help me create this positive learning environment. I specifically chose reptiles since they're not a concern for students allergic to fur or feathers. My snakes are constrictors, not venomous. Thank you. I have some printouts to hand you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Appreciate it.
And next up, we have, is it Parker Day? I can't read.
Parker Day?
Student.
Student, yeah. Hey, Parker.
Hey, Parker.
I think, is that still on? Yeah, it's still on. Okay.
Am I allowed to talk now?
Yep,
You bet.
yep, absolutely.
Hello, my name is Parker Day, and I was a student at Elizabeth Middle School. I'm here today because students are having to say goodbye to class pets. Rango, a bearded dragon, and Rocky, the best snake ever that Miss Cutter, along with students, cared for. Miss Cutter used these pets to help students learn like me. Having these class pets in our classroom wasn't just fun, it was educational. We learned about science, responsibility, and respect for living creatures. Taking care of them taught us patience, teamwork, and curiosity about the natural world. It made learning come alive. I hope you consider how valuable class pets can be for students. They make a difference. Taking care of a pet, like feeding it and keeping its space clean, helps students learn to be responsible, dependable, and caring. These are important skills we can use in everyday life. Class pets help students see real examples of things like biology, animal behavior, and ecosystems. Watching and caring for them makes science easier and to understand than just reading from a book. Taking away classroom pets are taking away important student experiences, and the students will miss them. Thank you for listening and for your time.
Thank you, Parker.
Thank you, Parker. Good job.
Okay, next up, we have consent items. We have 8-1 through 8-10, so I move that the board approve consent items 8-1 through 8-10 as presented.
Second.
Can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, now we're on to action items. First up, we have our Legacy Academy Food Services MOU. I move that the board approve the memorandum of understanding with Legacy Academy for the food services that the district provides them.
Second.
Okay,
I think the original copy we sent out had the wrong date. That's
Yeah.
been corrected.
Last
Thank you
year.
for catching that. Sorry. We had changed the dates for first and last day of school, but obviously we missed the school year span. So this is our food service department provides food service to Legacy. We've offered the same to ICA as they prepare to open next year. That is, we collect all funds for that. That covers the cost of our staffing that we provide to Legacy to run that program. So it is a great service to them, and it also is helping our food service program continue to thrive. So we think it's a good option, and we ask you to approve the MOU.
okay, it's pretty straightforward to me. Anybody have anything they want to add? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, next up, we have board committees. So we do have a few open seats available on board committees, specifically the District Advisory Council and the Curriculum Review Committee.
So what I'm looking for tonight is, obviously, we haven't solicited feedback. We were originally, I think, talked about doing it over the summer and felt like it probably would miss a lot of interested folks. So my thought at this point, with your direction, would be that we go ahead and we advertise, that we have open positions similar to what we've done in the past, have parents submit applications for those positions. We'll use the very same application we used the first round, and then bring those to you so that you can make a decision as to people filling the open positions that I provided you a list. So if that sounds acceptable, we'll
Yeah.
proceed. We still have 5 members on FAC. FAC is a committee. Mike, I don't know your thoughts, but FAC is a committee I think everyone's interested in continuing. I think there's value in that consistency, but we also have the ability of expanding FAC. So I don't know if that's of interest, if you feel like right now our committee is the right size, but did want to throw that out in case.
I think it's a good size.
Okay. Okay. So we'll solicit members for these two committees in the open positions, and then bring those back to you. I'll do that tomorrow, get that out, provide parents through this weekend and the next weekend, and then hopefully that week, the following week, we'd be able to bring you some names. And most of those committees begin in September, so we really do have 2 more meetings if need be to have people selected.
One thing I noticed on this that we didn't have on the last one is you have a high school student under curriculum review.
Yeah, it's actually in the bylaws that there's a
Okay.
high school student.
Okay,
so
but we didn't have one last time.
We did,
We did?
yeah, we had a high school student, I can't remember his name. Great.
Jones, Michelle wasn't at the teacher's thing. Michelle
Yeah.
Jones. I'm
Okay.
trying to remember
Yeah.
his first name at the top of my
Yeah, he
head.
graduated.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and I think the bylaws have that
Okay.
be selected through the school, but it's still someone that you would need to have the board confirm. So some of these positions, like our teachers on curriculum review committee, TAC is to solicit volunteers for that. We do have the one teacher who would like to continue,
Mhm.
so they'd be looking to fill the other
Mhm.
position, but certainly open it up in case there's other people still with interest in that position.
Noah Jones.
Noah Jones.
Oh,
Also
that's
student,
right.
yep.
Just clicked.
Yep.
I'm noticing we have a lot of the same group. Is there just nobody else stepping up that wants to get the points?
We just haven't gone out to
Okay,
ask for
okay,
volunteers. That's what we'll
okay.
do now.
All
I
right.
really wanted to outline for
Okay.
you. Over the summer, we checked with existing members on who
Mhm.
wanted to continue,
Okay.
who had stepped down.
Okay.
And so we wanted to bring the vacancies to you first, so you could
Okay.
then, I think that the right next step would be to go out and advertise, like we've done in the
Okay.
past, but wanted to make sure that was your direction.
Oh, yeah.
So,
All right.
All
Does
right.
anybody have any questions on that, or? All right. Okay, so next up, we have our first reading of revised policy DJA, purchasing and purchasing authority. So I move that the board approve the first reading of revised policy DJA, purchasing authority.
Second.
So this policy has 2 provisions in it. This policy had been approved in May, and then over the summer, we had some questions about when we purchase an item from a staff member or sell an item to a staff member, and how we do that transparently. And so we've added that to our policy, that any item that might involve a staff member purchasing, say a bus that's been surplused, or the district wanting to buy something from a staff member who has a piece of equipment that the district is looking for, that any such purchases or sales will now come to the board, just to ensure that transparency, to ensure that the board can look and say, yes, the value that we're selling that to is not preferential, it's fair market value, and vice versa. So that's been added to this policy. The other is, this district has no policy on petty cash. And so we don't have a lot of departments or schools that use petty cash. There are times of the year that they may need petty cash. But we realize we have nowhere in our policies where petty cash is captured. And so we've added to this policy the ability, really the board authorizing purchases could occur through petty cash, and when that might occur. That would be done with consultation and approval of either the chief finance officer or the superintendent. So only those who we would authorize to have a petty cash would have it. It wouldn't be something that every school would establish. It would be based on need. The maximum amount that we would allow in a petty cash in a school or department is $500. And then they would need to bring receipts for valid purchases or reimbursements before that could be replenished. So $500 is the limit we're recommending. The district finance office could maintain up to $1,000 because they would need to replenish that. So if Running Creek Elementary used $150 from their petty cash for teacher supplies, the receipts, we would need to be able to give them cash to replenish that. And so those are the 2 amounts we've set at Justin's recommendation. Again, it doesn't get around that the purchase have to be appropriate. So when those receipts are purchased, we're still going to scrutinize, just like we do an Amazon order, just like we do a P-card order. Justin goes through every purchase in the district to say, is it valid, is it reasonable, is it needed? And so that process will still happen, The challenge will be that the school may be out that cash if they've authorized something that was not permitted. And I think our department leaders and our principals in particular are pretty good about making sure that what's being reimbursed is appropriate. So this is the other piece we felt like this was the right policy to have. So.
And I agree with the minimal amount of cash. It's so much easier to track purchases on a P card.
Yep. Yep. And again, we won't authorize this for every department won't tomorrow get $500. They'll certain departments that might need it, and it might just be certain times of the year. It might be, you know, when there's something going on at a school where there is students paying fees and they need to be able to make change, things like that. But other than that, like I said, we felt like it was important to have policy so we could hold people accountable.
I agree.
Is there, $500 seems a little high to me, I guess I'm just gonna say. So.
Up to.
I know,
Up to is key,
up
yeah.
to. And so who determines what?
It would
so-
be Justin.
I
Yeah,
guess,
this empowers Justin to make that decision. And again, it could vary. It could be $100 initially based on, I'm just reimbursing, you know, I had to run to Walmart and purchase $25. It also states in here, which is important, because we have found in some petty cash uses that we're paying tax, and our district should not be paying tax. We should not be reimbursing tax. And so this policy also ensures that we don't do that. Another purpose for the policy. But up to 500 would be the max, and that would be determined based upon Justin's evaluation of, do we need 500, or is $100 adequate for this particular department or school who may just be buying miscellaneous quick things? I need pens for my classroom today. I can't wait for Amazon to deliver it tomorrow. So, yeah. So.
And then as far as the, and, you know, I'm sure that the principals and the department heads will all use absolute discretion, but if there is something that is not approved by Justin, that this wasn't an appropriate purchase, then you said the district, the school is out, or the department is out, or
Ultimately,
it comes out of their
it's,
budget?
I mean, actually,
Ultimately?
it could be something that they'd be personally responsible for.
Okay.
So we have had, in the past, I've had petty cash used for inappropriate expenses, and that's been something that the principal needs to replenish because it was not an expense that would have been approved. So we really hold our department heads accountable for, you need to ensure that this money, otherwise you may be personally replenishing it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And so they're aware of that, and that's part of
They
the
will be,
agreement,
again.
the understanding. when
Petty
they-
cash is not prevalent in the district. We have, right now, we had one department that had some petty cash that this regulation will help us put some regulations around that. There could be occasions where a school might need petty cash. And so this, again, we don't intend to go out and issue petty cash tomorrow. This gives us a policy that if someone needs it, we have some constraints under which we'd operate.
And Justin is kind of in charge of saying,
Yeah.
yes, I think you need
Yeah.
it, or
Yeah.
not really. I
I'm
think.
sorry?
Or not really. The
Yeah.
decision might be, I don't think you really need petty
Yeah,
cash.
yeah,
So-
exactly. And I would say for many departments, the answer would be no. There's no need for it. So we're really trying to drive people to appropriate use of the P card or putting in the order. Amazon, we know, delivers tomorrow, so it's not that we want people to use Amazon, but honestly, if it's something I need tomorrow, that's certainly a source that will get it here tomorrow.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
that would be something that would be ordered through the district account. It would be, the order would be submitted, it would be approved and then placed. We're really trying to encourage as much pre-approval through those means as possible. So, Justin, do you have anything to add to that?
Just to amplify that, you know, this is more of a catch-all, not a lessening of the leash, but more for accountability, trackability, to have it on ledger and to properly account for it. Because right now, we do not have the accounting behind this. So I can't tell you how much it is, but let's say there are 2 or 3 usable sources. I can know to the penny where that money was, what it was used for, appropriateness. So it is more accountable because it does say I have to put my eyes on every penny in the district. So it's kind of a tightening of the leash, but it reads otherwise.
It's accountability.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm good with the petty cash thing, and I do like the other thing that was
Yeah.
added too, as well as the, it just comes up and you don't really think about it until the
Yeah.
opportunity arises for people within the district to sell to each other, or,
Yeah.
somebody
Exactly.
personally to sell to the district or vice versa, so, I think that's good that, we've got policies around that now, and so I like that addition a lot.
Okay.
Do we think we're gonna have changes to this?
Pardon?
Do we think we're gonna have more changes to this? Is there any reason to bring it back?
Yeah, I mean, you could modify your motion to first and final if it's acceptable to you.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'm good with final.
All right. So I'm going to modify my motion, and I move that the board approve the first and final reading of revised policy BJDJA, purchasing authority.
Second.
All right.
Amend it.
Yep.
Not right.
Mhm.
If y'all are good, I'm good.
Okay. Can I get a roll call?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Writing or I won't remember. Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Powell.
Aye.
Okay, next up, we have our first reading of new policy EFE2, Civil Rights Complaint Procedure for School Nutrition Program. I move that the board approve the first reading of revised policy EF-E-2, Civil Rights Complaint Procedure for School Nutrition Program.
Second.
So this was caught through, I believe, our policy audit, that the district has not had this policy. It is a policy that is required as part of our participation in the National Food Lunch, or National School Lunch Program. This simply outlines if a parent felt like, and it probably is more important right now because for the last 2 years the state has paid for lunch for every student. We know that there was a ballot initiative this November that may or may not pass, that may require that students go back to having to pay for their lunch. And so the free and reduced lunch process really has kind of been diminished because of that. Why apply when I'm getting it anyways? Now this allows that if a family applied for those benefits and were denied, maybe based on their income or based on information they provided, there is an appeals process. And this outlines where they would appeal that to. So it's really a policy, again, I think because of the state of Colorado's free lunch for everyone initiative, this has not been as important as it will become if that law does not pass.
When do we expect to know about that law?
Well, it's on the November ballot, is
Is it
my
on the
understanding.
November ballot?
So
Okay.
so as soon as the vote is certified, we'll know if the state has agreed to fund that program continuing.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense than what I thought.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, all right. Any discussion on this one? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
And Director Powell.
Aye.
That particular one, since it's new, I would recommend we leave it first reading, but this one we would probably bring back on consent.
Okay.
Just because unless there's someone who feels like they might want to discuss it further, I think we could pass it on the
Pretty
second reading
straightforward.
on consent.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, so next up, we have a repeal of Exhibit GBEE-E, Staff Use of District Technology Resources, Acceptable Use Agreements, and basically it's in the handbook now, so there's really not a need to have the policy, so we have the option to repeal it tonight. So I move that the board repeal policy GBEE-E, Staff Use of District Technology Resources, Acceptable Use Agreement.
Second.
And just to be clear, we're not repealing the policy. The policy is still in place. This year, we've gone to a process. We have an updated employee handbook
Okay.
where the critical information in the policy is outlined, and we're actually having them sign for and acknowledging the policy. So, because
Okay.
we now have all of the policies that our employees are receiving
Mhm.
together, and they're signing acknowledgement of receipt of all of those key policies, employee dress code, acceptable use policy, et cetera. There's no point in having an exhibit that they sign because they're acknowledging that policy and multiple policies all in one writing. And so having this left here makes it look like we forgot to do it. Well, we did. We just gave them the actual policy. And by keeping this, every time we update the policy, we're gonna have to go back and update this, and there are some things in the exhibit that are not updated based upon our GBEE changes that we made, I believe, in May. I think it was one of our recent policies we updated because of the cell phone use of teachers. We aligned that prohibition for teachers to the student prohibition for cell phones. So
Okay.
instead of updating this every time we update the other, we felt like let's just repeal it, and that makes it easier just to have people sign for the policy. That
Okay,
makes
so
sense.
just, no.
Okay. Glad I make
So,
that muddy, sorry.
Yeah, so my motion was to repeal the policy.
Repeal this
Big-
GBEE-E.
It's the exhibit.
Okay.
It's an
It's
exhibit.
It's the exhibit,
Exhibit,
okay.
yeah.
One thing that I do think we might need to just fix in the policy, the cell phone stuff, is that I do believe it refers to this. And so we probably need next time
Okay.
to just
We'll double check.
I've
take,
already-
strike that.
Yeah, I've already done it, and I'll bring it back.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So we'll just need
Perfect.
that, just housekeeping and cleaning
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I think where we have things that every time we change one, we have to remember to change
I
the
know,
other. I think
exactly.
where
And
we
I don't
can-
know why I remember that particularly. I think it's because I mentioned when we
Yeah.
did that policy that we're gonna have to update
Yeah.
this too.
Yeah.
So now,
Yeah.
I like the bigger,
So our legal
thing,
counsel's
but-
present. I might refer to Brad. Brad, do you have any concerns with that? If they're signing for the policy with multiple other policies?
I don't have to.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on that one? All right, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
And Director Powell?
Aye.
Was that a first reading?
It's a repeal.
Oh,
It's
just
not-
a
yeah.
straight repeal. Okay, so that one doesn't have to come back.
Repeal of the
Perfect.
exhibit.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, next up, we have first reading of revised policy IJ, instructional materials and library resources.
You want to do the motion first? or- It's first reading only.
Yeah.
And we have a copy of this that
Mhm.
Brad has revised.
So I move that the board approve the first reading of revised policy IJ, instructional materials and library resources.
Second.
Okay, now.
Okay, so you do have an updated suggestion that did come from our legal counsel, and it's in the front of your books. So if you look for that policy IJ, and Brad, I don't know if you want to come to the table, we can talk through this. This policy, we wanted to update to go along with our current protocols that we have in place. We actually are talking, and I'll talk more with Brad about our library protocols, making an exhibit in one of these, because we have those library protocols, but to not have them accessible. So that may be something we want to talk about, whether our protocols can become an exhibit for KEC, I think in particular is probably where we'll want to go. But this particular one, I did ask Brad to give a look at. There was recent legislation that requires that the board look at their policy regarding libraries. This is both instructional materials, which includes the library, and so Brad certainly felt like both should be looked at the same time. So if you look at Brad's adjustment, it's probably a little cleaner than ours. He has made some minor adjustments. The one thing that is not here that we put into our revision is where you say that school libraries, classrooms and libraries shall be selected by the appropriate professional personnel. This board has empowered the chief academic officer with that decision-making. And so my recommendation on Brad's version, which I do think is a better version for us to begin looking at, would be by the chief academic officer and strike appropriate professional personnel in that second paragraph. And that does align with what you have directed in your protocols, that the chief academic officer is ultimately the decision maker. Obviously, it still comes to you. You have final approval, always have final approval, but as far as who's making decisions around the purchase of materials, that you've empowered the chief academic officer to be kind of the gatekeeper and then to bring those recommendations to you.
There was one in the second paragraph, there's one thing that stuck out to me, and it says, the board has final decision on purchase, and it's probably just a technicality. I'm wondering if we should change that to acquisition, because I don't want to limit the board has final approval on just purchases. No, it has final approval on what goes in.
I think I'm on, and let me say, I completely agree with you on that. I think that makes a ton of sense.
Okay.
You'll see that we included a couple of paragraphs. The last paragraph, I think, is just an appropriate reference. The one in the middle, I just want to clarify, it has nothing to do with the content of the materials. It has to do with making sure that we're not distinguishing on the basis of the characteristics of the authors.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's important based on new law and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Is there, on our version of this, and I know that we're saying, and it kind of indicates it in this last paragraph here, but in our version, we did include in the title instructional resources, and we had the word library in there. So I guess, just to make it really plain, I would like it somehow, instructional resources and library materials, or instructional and library resources and materials, or something, put library in there somewhere.
I have no
In the
legal
title.
objection to that. That's
Yeah, yeah.
perfectly fine. I think this is a title that we used in some of the other districts that we work with.
And I just think it's more plain to everybody to have library in there somewhere. I'm not
Absolutely.
sure what the best, because our original title was instructional materials and library resources. I don't know.
They could be instructional resources as well, so I'm thinking instructional and library resources and
That's what I was
materials.
thinking,
Is that
maybe,
okay?
and library, yeah.
Okay. Because
Okay.
library could have resources or materials.
Yeah.
Instruction could be resources or materials, so.
I'm guessing Brad was amending the original policy.
Correct.
And then we had updated our policy in addition to that. So I do like the changes that we made to our policy, making it clear that there's library resources to which this policy is applicable. So I think where the district made changes and updated it, we maintain those in
Mhm.
addition to adding in the changes that Brad suggested.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yep. So like we have, which includes library resources at the
Exactly.
end of instructional, so add that in
Yes.
as well. Okay.
And then I know in the legal references, we had in ours the addition of CRS 22-1-148. Board must adopt policies regarding acquisition, blah, 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 blah. I don't, maybe I'm just being.
That's just because he had the original.
Yeah, Brad,
He didn't have the.
we realized that the current law was not referenced in the citation.
No, I see that as well.
So are you okay with us adding that?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
So it sounds like our next steps would be to merge our
Yeah.
additions into this. I'll say the one thing I see is we're again saying instructional materials and library resources, and I think we want to be clear, materials and resources can be library or instructional, so we'll want to maybe mess with that
Yes.
wording a little.
Massage that.
But make sure it's applicable
Yeah, make
in
sure it's
both
applicable to
settings.
both, exactly.
Yes.
And
I
then
can
we'll,
make those changes and send them out.
okay, and we'll keep, and then we'll add Brad's recommended 2 paragraphs as well, and then add that CRS reference.
To be fair, Joshua was doing these in between his wife's contractions while I was rushing up to cover the older grandbaby, so I
I'm
apologize for a
surprised
couple
that
minutes.
it's legible at all, then. Wow.
Just out of curiosity, what's the technical difference between materials and resources?
Resources could be videos, they could be websites, materials are something you can hold.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be my definition of the two. So,
Okay.
It's pretty open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
Yeah.
We gotta have it broad enough that
Mhm.
Covers
anybody's
everything.
interpretation will be
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah.
It's applicable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad, what's your, what are your thoughts? I know in the district version, we've changed shall to will. Do you feel like that's a more straightforward way to go about communicating what we plan to do as a district? Do you think it has any legal difference?
It's oftentimes, I think, a matter of lawyer preference, but I always like will.
Okay.
So we'll change the shalls to wills, just like we did?
Yes.
Okay. We always have the year of the shall and the year of the will.
Yes, I was just gonna say that, yeah.
That's how Casby stays in business.
We're on
This is the
year 2
shall.
of will, aren't we?
This is the year of will.
Sorry.
It's crazy.
Totally fine with will.
Okay, all right.
Great. Cool.
Perfect.
So first reading, we'll come back with those changes. We will bring it back for discussion, just so that we make sure that we've captured everything. So thanks.
Okay.
Brad, thank you for your help on that one.
Thank you. All right, can I get a roll call?
I think the next one, we might want you to stay.
I'm not that curious either.
Yeah.
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, next up is the first reading of our new Exhibit JICDE-E-2, Bullying Investigation Form. So I move that the board approve the first reading of the new Exhibit JICDE-E-2, Bullying Investigation Form.
Second.
So we also, in our policy audit, it was brought to our attention that there is a form available. It's not required. We actually felt like it was a good thing for us to add. That way we can track when a bullying incident is reported, that whoever's investigating is following the policy. This board spent a lot of time on JICDE right as you all took your seats on this board. And so I feel strongly that we want to make sure that if a principal's investigating, if it's an assistant principal, that they're following the process. There are some changes, though, in this one that's attached that after spending some time, little minor things, findings and parent guardians, we need 4 on one and 5 on the other. They're reversed. I would recommend we remove the intervention section because I think that's going a little beyond the investigation. We want this to be a, have we investigated, have we come up with findings? This then goes into almost prescribing a solution, and I think we want to make sure that solution is not something that we're empowering just the one person. I think it's something that, based upon the investigation, certainly it would be wise that we have the ability of then reviewing and then being a part of how are we solving that. The board has really put some strong language in JICDE about bullying prevention, and so I just feel like the intervention section is probably not appropriate in the investigation form itself, but probably something that more is driven by your policy and what your policy says we should do in those circumstances. So my recommendation would be that we strike number 6 from the form, obviously moving record keeping up to the next Roman numeral.
Well, you're a mind reader, because that was the only
Your
issue I
thoughts.
had with this
Okay.
was I did
Okay.
not like the interventions.
Okay.
But I remember when we worked on
Mhm.
bullying policy to begin with, and we did work on that a lot over several meetings. And I think we intended to put this form into place
Mhm.
then, but it just didn't, we didn't get to it.
Yeah.
So, I think it's important to have this investigation form, but I agree that interventions, this is not the place to have that, and our policy handles that, gives us guidelines for that, so.
So I'll make those changes and then bring it back. If you pass this first reading, we'll make those changes.
All right, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
And Director Powell?
Aye.
All right, so next up we have the first reading of revised policy JLDAC, screening and testing of students. This one I thought maybe we want to do it in a reverse order and discuss first.
We can certainly discuss as well. This is definitely not a policy we feel like is ready tonight. Brad and I have spent some time on it, so we do have some recommended changes. This is a required policy that we have. There's several legal references. I think there are some things in here we want to strengthen or remove. I'll start, if it's okay, with just my recommendation on the psychiatric, psychological behavior testing methods and procedures. I would recommend we strike the second and third paragraph from that. segment, because it does go into, I mean, one of the things I think this board has been very clear on is we're not therapy providers, we are educators, and that obviously when we support a family and their child needs further resources, we work with them to locate those of the family's choosing. But paragraph 2 and 3 under that section in particular,
Under which
I feel like
section?
go a little under the psychiatric, psychological, behavior testing
3.
methods or procedures, page 3, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And 4.
So that is, I'm jumping to the easy ones. I think those two should just go. There was some rewording earlier than that, but we'll figured let's get the low-hanging fruit first
Yeah.
out of the way.
You're proposing deleting the second paragraph and the third
In
paragraph?
the third paragraph.
Is that
The
what you
first
said?
paragraph really is what drives the parental permission.
Right.
That's the parental rights. Parents have a right, if there's any type of assessment like this occurring, sometimes a child who's being undergoing special education testing for social emotional disorders, there is testing like this, but it's done by a psychiatrist to a psychologist to a certain degree. We don't go into that deeper therapeutic side, which would be a parent's right to go seek that elsewhere. But that first paragraph really captures the parental permission is required. The last paragraph on that is really about course offerings, and I think we need to do some rewording of it. But it really is capturing where we have a psychology class. You know, you approve the curriculum for psychology. That's the way it's supposed to be. So you're going to be able to know that the psychology curriculum you've approved is actually what's being delivered. This actually goes into a lot greater detail, which I think is probably a little further. I think ultimately we probably need to drive back to deliver the curriculum that's been approved, and that way you know there's not additional psychological assessments being done through that class that might be outside of the scope of the curriculum. So that section, Brad and I looked at briefly, and I think the title would be course offerings, and then we would really tighten the language to be, you know, classes that touch on this subject would be utilizing approved curriculum, something to that degree, and probably could even share, you know, parental review of syllabus in advance or something like that. So is that,
That's
if you're
great.
comfortable with us
Yeah.
working on rewording that,
Yeah.
I think Brad
Yeah,
and I can.
'cause that was one of
I
my
agree.
bullet points that
Yeah.
I had, was explain ordinary classroom instruction.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with your reasoning and with what you're recommending.
Okay.
I found the first sentence of this overall to be kind of convoluted, a little bit confusing. Is it just me?
Of the whole
Just
thing?
that, the first sentence, I was just kind of like, I don't,
First sentence in the first paragraph of the whole document.
yeah. Parents, guardians, and eligible students have the right to review and survey assessment, analysis, or evaluation administered or distributed by a school to students, whether created by the district or a third party.
It's kind of a convoluted sentence a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I was
I think
just
it's
like,
saying parents have a right to see it.
Let's just say
If we're
that.
doing it, parents have a right to see it.
Director Olson, we can go through some more
Okay.
line by line here for sure.
Okay.
But we just spent maybe 15, 20 minutes
Uh-huh.
going through things, identified in multiple
Mhm.
places that we're gonna want to
Yeah.
adjust. And then frankly, there's a recent Supreme Court case, the Mahmood case, that addressing opt-outs. And we wanna make sure we fully reflect its,
Okay.
you know, its impact as well.
Perfect.
There are.
Go ahead, yeah.
No, I think there are some other, you know, wordings, there's some things that I believe our other board action has, I think there was concern through one of the conversations with one of you about journalism and the way
Yeah.
this is worded. I think we want to tighten that up.
Mhm.
There's also.
Number 3.
Number 3, health professional. If we leave that, I'd want to specify school registered nurse, because we do have health clinic technicians, that I don't want this to leave that they can delve into that type of confidentiality. So number 3 would definitely be one that Brad and I identified as needing to be tightened up. If we want to leave it, I think it would need to say of a registered school nurse. We only have 2 of them in the district that are registered nurses that have nursing degrees and carry a nursing license. And so if we wanted them to serve in that as a health professional and be able to communicate with students about concerns that they're sharing with them, I got this itch, whatever, that would only be with a registered nurse. So if you're comfortable with that, we'll work on that language. The other option would be to remove that. I think we'd want registered nurses to be able to, if a child's reporting some condition, that they can do some analysis for our parents and then communicate with parents.
That's a health.
Yeah, it's a health need. So,
Okay.
but we definitely would like to reduce that to registered nurses and
Okay.
not just any health tech. Our health techs are great. They administer medication. They've been delegated that authority by our nurses, but they don't have the deep knowledge of, is it pink eye, is it this, is it that, and to
And
delve
we want to
into those
clarify, it's not a
conversations.
mental health professional, but it's a physical
Yeah.
health
Physical
professional. How to
health.
say that correctly as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I would like to see, like, on the first page, this paragraph that says, except as otherwise permitted by law, students shall not be required to submit to a survey that includes 1 through 9 there. These things seem like stuff that we should never be asking, and so I don't know if we can do it, but if we could figure out a way to just say, no, we're not gonna do this, period. And the kids can't be required to submit to it, but that implies that we can ask them.
That will take an analysis of this exception section and decide if there's any exceptions that we
Okay.
agree to. For example, military recruiting purposes or something like
Yeah,
that. And so,
that I understand, yeah. But yeah, so if we could just make that a little, because most of this, there's very few reasons why we should be asking any of those questions.
On number 4, under exceptions, number 4, I had notes about bullets 2, 3, and 5, and maybe I think you covered 3. I'm sorry, under number 4, so we've got bullet 2, books, clubs, magazines, and programs providing access to low-cost literary products. That's an exception to the policy. And then 3, curriculum and instructional materials used by district schools.
I
And
think
then-
there's a lot of changes on that
Okay,
one in
yeah.
particular, I would agree.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, the sale by students of products or services to raise funds for school-related or educational-related activities. I guess I'm just, I'm wary of,
That could be like jump rope for art, I feel like.
yeah, and I think that we'd have to have just good examples of, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
and
open
to
to
Rhonda's
interpretation.
point and also Brad's, with the Mahmood case,
Mhm.
it implicates that language in particular,
Mhm.
Mhm.
which would require opt-outs
Mhm.
for some things based
Mhm.
on religious exceptions. So that language in particular, I think, needs updating.
So we got some work to do.
Yep. Yep. So, Brad, do you feel like you kind of hear their thoughts? I feel like have a
absolutely
good
do.
understanding.
I would appreciate an opportunity for Dan and potentially I or Joshua to work with you or someone so that we could go through things like, I'm not an educator or, for a very short time I was, but I don't know what instructional materials we might be interacting with that might have a
Yeah.
basis, and I want to make sure we don't inadvertently exclude
Yeah.
something that's
Yeah.
meaningfully,
Mhm.
educationally
I think
viable.
we'll
so
want to involve
wanna be
Kim
careful.
Moore as well in that conversation. So I think we could schedule maybe a Zoom and dig into it deeper and then maybe get it out to you in advance in case there's any questions. We can get that back to Brad or Joshua to look at and hopefully next time have something a little closer to
But
what we
you had
might
to start
consider.
somewhere.
Yeah.
We had to start somewhere, so.
And just to be clear to the audience, this is the changes recommended by CASB, and so we're bringing that to you to start with, and then we're chewing up. So-
Yes. That's great. So does this one even, we didn't do a motion, we did our discussion first, so does this one, should we just not even do a motion?
I mean, I think you
Motion
should,
next time, bring it back
I
first
would
reading.
recommend you do a first reading. Again, we're not adopting it
Right.
You've
Yeah.
looked at it, I think, to put on the record that
Yeah.
you've looked at it, you've given feedback to us. We're gonna go take a shot at modifying based on that, and then obviously you could have a second and a third reading
Yeah.
if after what we bring back, there's still changes you want, so.
Okay.
So I guess we need a motion then.
All right, so I move that the board approve the first reading of revised policy JLDAC, screening and testing of students.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on this one? All right, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt? Aye. Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, the next one, first reading of revised policy KEC, public concerns, complaints about instructional materials and library resources. This is another one I thought maybe we should discuss prior to motion.
I didn't write it.
Yeah, so KEC, you also have an alternate form that we got legal advice on. We did the work with the CASB policy and then made changes we felt like we needed to make. Again, one of the critical ones, I believe, I thought we had Chief Academic Officer in here, but maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
I think you're thinking of the different one.
Yeah, I think I am on a different one. So this particular one, this is driven by law. We have to, by September 1st, have a policy updated. So I'm gonna encourage that you still do a first reading, even though I know we're far from final. I think if we work from Brad's copy, I think, I like some of the parental rights specific that he calls out here, the reconsideration requests and how that would be handled. I think there's a lot more on the revisions that Brad's offered that we probably want to work from. So this particular policy, again, we are required by law to have a policy in place by September 1st. So that's where I think first reading today and then hopefully giving us the feedback you want to get it right for the next meeting would be great.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get this motion out of the way. I move that the board approve the first reading of revised policy KEC, public concerns, complaints about instructional materials and library resources.
Second.
Okay. So.
Mike or
Larry
Mary?
or me, either
Pick-
one.
Rock, paper,
Either or,
scissors.
Mike.
One of the things that jumped right off the page at me was, number 2, ideologies. Because, you know, we've always said we do not want ideologies. So is this by law we're mandated, or?
No, I think it's an effort to reflect that you have to have a balanced
Yeah.
sort of,
Mhm.
you know, assortment of
Mhm.
materials. So that could be said in a different manner for sure.
Okay.
So you would recommend that we try to reword that, so ideologies. I don't know that ideologies is necessarily the word that I would use.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what word I would, but that is, might not be
I work
the
with a
word.
lot of great boards, but you guys are the most thoughtful. I mean, I really appreciate the kinds of questions and things that you guys bring up. And I work with, you know, very conservative organizations, and yet you guys are always on the ball of maintaining that priority of parent engagement and parent choice. It's just remarkable. I needed to say that. That's good.
Thank you.
Keeping you on your toes.
Huh?
Keeping you on your toes.
Oh, gosh, yeah, because this is one we just glossed over, right? It was in the language, we didn't think to change that, and here Rhonda brings a great question, I love it.
Well, and I was looking at it and I'm like, you know, in my notes here, I'm like, I understand political ideologies if factual and unbiased, but I would need examples of, you know, what would be considered current events or other phases of life, because it's very broad,
Mhm.
very, very broad. In philosophies, I understand that completely.
Mhm.
You know, age appropriate, and again, if, you know, you want, how would I put this? You want kids to be aware and to be able to compare and contrast you know, different, like, political views?
We likely could put a period
Yeah.
right after such libraries, period.
Okay.
Because the predicate says, you know, it's a balanced collection of factual materials, and
Mhm.
I think that would cover the necessary ground and not open the door to the other.
Okay.
And ideologies may be a different word, which.
I would just put a period after libraries, I think, that's my
Okay.
initial instinct.
Okay, so leave ideologies,
And the whole-
but
Oh, you
just.
mean number
And then the
two.
second
Yeah.
part, just
Yeah.
strike, everything
Okay.
from, on various ideologies
Mhm.
or philosophies, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Just line
And
it
then
out.
maybe rename that paragraph too.
rename
Yeah, that's what,
ideologies
that's what I
too.
guess they're
Exactly.
asking, Brad, is the number 2 ideologies dash, is ideologies a word that is necessarily even the right word there?
Yeah.
Or is
Right.
there?
Is that really
different word?
descriptive of what we wanna do?
Because again, to your point, it's saying we need a balanced collection
Mhm.
of factual materials.
For students who access your libraries, period,
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah, so, all right, we'll explore that.
And then,
So you could just put number 2, balance.
oh yeah?
I like that.
We kind of alluded to it earlier, but I think this would be a good place to make our library protocols be an attachment or an exhibit or something to this policy. So that they are, I mean, as protocols, they are official and they are enforceable,
Mhm.
but they aren't exactly, that way they would be an official part of this policy. Is that?
And I think it's aligned with the, I don't
It
think
is,
anything
and
here.
that's why I was thinking,
yeah.
I was seeing that,
Yeah.
and.
So make it a KEC-R.
Yeah, exactly, or E,
Yeah.
It would be E2.
Uh,
There's already
Well,
E2.
we'd
Maybe
have
R,
to-
I don't know.
We'd have to add it to KEC-R, because we already have one on it.
Yeah, but we could have an R2, or we can have an
R2.
E2,
Okay.
so Brad can look at it and kind of
That's
guide
true.
us, which, is it an exhibit or a
We
regulation?
run into some R3s, if you work down in places like D11, they have a million
Oh, wow.
policies, and, you know, so it's not inconceivable.
Let's
I
not
thought
do
the goal was
that.
to reduce the number
Reduce,
of
I know.
policies.
I said that.
But to Director Powell's point, having a -R gives a formality that then leadership can enforce, and
Right.
and so.
No, it makes
it's
sense.
Always best to do it that way when that
And
issue
also more
comes up.
visible to the public.
Well, sure.
Yeah, easier accessible.
Yeah.
And then, key things that I think Brad and Joshua added, you know, that the reconsideration form is the form that people have to use. It can't be an email. It really, you know, tell us what's concerning. We're gonna look at the form in a minute. But that, I think that's critical in here. And then it outlines the process and includes a curriculum review committee, which the board has put into place. This just had like loose committee about a committee, and it specified a teacher and a parent and a community member.
And Director
so.
Olson, this comes out of the new statutory framework, so I mean, it's mandatory, unfortunately, to have some of these elements in here.
Okay. I know.
And
Big
considering
time.
where we stand in, you know, in terms of other things,
Yeah.
it's good to have this policy
Mhm.
be on point.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm worried that the language is so general that you could construe anything, could fall in these buckets. You know, that, well, what about, books on, ritual suicide? And how to do it, and what about books on sex cults? And, you know, I mean, that could be a various ideology or philosophy that, and I just, where does it, where do they stop there? That you have to be balanced. How balanced are we talking about?
Well, we attempt, and I would welcome the board trying to bring in more input on maybe number 3 or something like number 3. You know, what is literary merit, what is, you know, obscene, what is, you know, material too mature for the audience, and
Yeah,
those sorts of
age
things.
and appropriateness.
Mhm. Perhaps do some thinking around what is academically aligned. I think that there's a world in which you could focus on that a bit and think about how that would operate in this context. You want a broad library, but can you constrain it sort of to be sort of aligned with either, you know, for the younger students, literary acquisition and, you know, sort of learning stories, but then at the older ages, maybe it's more limited to the subject matter that we study and so forth.
I think you have two policies now. You have IJ that says you will approve any and all materials, so obviously what's brought in is now you have direct oversight on. You've empowered the chief academic officer to be the arbiter, the gate collector, and then bring it to you. And then this provides you the ability, if someone identifies a piece of material in our curriculum or in our libraries, of how it's going to be reviewed, and it still puts you in the, so the determiner of the vagueness is you. So I think that's critical here, as it's ultimately the sitting board that makes that decision, because you're the ones empowered with that decision.
Not all boards are equal.
No. Agreed.
And Brad, do you recommend defining literary merit, maturity, obscenity?
I'm
Or is it
just
better
not
not to?
adverse to considering that and see
Okay.
where we land with that.
Okay.
I think there's a world in which we can go too far, and that pushes us in the wrong direction, but it's a conversation to have right now, so let's figure it out.
Mhm.
Some of the elements in that section down below, Director Fletcher, I think we need to make sure that we have those in here. I think that's part of the statute, and some of those address things like, you know, the overall merit of the materials and so forth, the educational purposes and so forth. So that's coming out of statute, so that gives us some guidelines too.
I think the closing paragraph is the important one. Board assumes final responsibility for all books and instructional materials it makes available to students. So.
And another reason why I really appreciate you, I mean, you in particular, by the way, but, you know, having this last sentence, Joshua felt like, for Elizabeth, I gotta add this last sentence. A parent's right to make important decisions for their children. You know, that comes from what you guys have expressed consistently. Appreciate it.
Hey, this implies that the parents have some access to the library books?
They do. Well, they have access to the library catalog.
Yeah.
Every parent can log in and see every book in the library and understand what's on the shelf, what's the summary of the content. So that is something the curriculum review committee put into place, is every library website has a link for you to see every material that exists in the library.
Brad, I was wondering if it might strengthen the section on parental rights if we were to add, so to that first sentence, a parent or guardian may request that their child not be required to use a particular material. If we added the language based on their sincerely held beliefs. Do you think that would strengthen that language
I do
for
like that.
parental rights?
Yeah. I'm not keeping notes here, so if, either Jamie will, or make sure that you deliver
Sure.
things like that, epiphanies like that to Jamie, please.
Was that under the parental rights?
Yes.
Paragraph? Okay. Oh, Brad, thank you for all your work on this.
Yeah.
It's quite a,
We've got a little more to do.
Yeah,
Good recommendation,
Yes,
thank you.
yes, definitely.
So we'll bring this back. We'll probably want you to look at whatever version we come up with in the next week, so that we can get your feedback before the next board meeting, so that hopefully what we bring is closer. This really should be adopted by September 1st. I don't think there's a consequence if it's not, but the law says we should have one in place. And our KEC policy that is in place obviously would remain in place until this one is approved, so.
all right. Well, with that, is there any further discussion? Okay,
I think
can I
we
get a
need
roll
that
call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
No.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, next up, we have the first reading of Exhibit KEC-E, Public Concerns Complaints about Instructional Resources. I move that the board approve the first reading of revised policy KEC-E, public concerns, complaints about instructional resources.
Second.
So when we first put the library protocol into place, we looked at a variety of different forms for parents to express concerns about materials. We never adopted one. And so, again, through our policy audit, that came back to us to say, hey, you don't have a KECE. I think we had looked at some forms and we liked them, and I think we almost assumed we had them, and I don't think the board ever formally approved one. So this is a form we've modified to include what we believe are all possible options. We've made a few changes to the form, the original recommended form from CASB, and this would be the form on which anyone who had a concern with a material or resource would complete and turn in. And our policy that Brad added to KEC is this must be how they communicate. They can't just email you and say, hey, I don't like book XYZ. This is a form because it gives them the ability of really communicating what their concern is, why it's a concern, what they recommend you consider doing with that particular material, so you have full understanding of what their concern is before the board curriculum review committee actually begins their process of review.
I like it.
So does KEC refer to this?
It does.
It does.
Well, it doesn't, we might want to add that. It says that they must use the district, the appropriate form. So we might want to even add that.
Yeah.
It says a request to have a book or other material removed from the school use must be submitted on the district standard reconsideration request form, and maybe we need to put in there parentheses KEC-E. And that way it'll be clear that's where they would give the finding. I just added it.
Should we also say, it doesn't really say who it should be sent to, it just says upon receipt of a completed reconsideration request form, the superintendent
Okay,
designate.
yeah.
Well, the form says, please return completed, well, it's misspelled, but to the school principal or the district's chief academic officer.
Yeah.
So is this something that you would
The policy
want?
just doesn't say that.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll align it. We'll add that
Yeah.
into the policy too.
Is this something that you would want to start at the school, like, principal level? Or is it something that the district should be informed of too?
It will always go to the curriculum review committee. So if it's turned into the principal would forward it on to Kim Moore, who's our chief academic officer. So ultimately, if it doesn't go to the chief academic officer, it's where it's going to go from a principal. So
is it best to use or is it best to use and just have notification to both at the same time so nothing is missed?
it could be. I think what we're trying to do is if they want to give it to the principal's still going to get it to the chief academic officer because they're the ones who co-chair the curriculum review committee. So I think it's providing a parent who might be more comfortable turning it into their principal versus someone they don't know. They may not know who the chief academic officer is. So I think or is there intentionally, so whoever they feel comfortable getting it to is going to start that process.
And
So,
they might be more, the principal might be more easily accessible.
Yeah.
As well, so.
I have a clarifying question because the form talks about citizen requests for reconsideration. It doesn't exactly say parent, while the policy talks more about parents. So I wanted to clarify whether or not a citizen who's not a parent can use this form and submit, concerns?
We had
Or
some-
is this meant to only apply to parents?
Yeah, I think we had some conversation. I think it would apply to any constituent of the district. So it couldn't be a parent from Parker who's in Douglas County Schools, but it's a constituent, a voter who
Yeah.
would find out there's a material and would want you to review it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I think our intention, I think parental rights is still the key. We're still trying to honor the fact that parents have that important decision-making, but anyone could bring that forward. So if that language has to be modified, Brad and I can look at that too to make sure it's clear that anyone can submit it. Parental rights is still kind of our basis for almost everything we do.
So do we need to clarify Elizabeth's citizen? Citizen of
Right, we're talking
Elizabeth
about
or
Elizabeth
parent?
School District.
Yeah.
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 Constituent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe even the taxpayer who might not necessarily be, a parent in the system,
Yeah.
but is paying into the system.
That's
Yeah.
right. They have a stake.
And I would also wonder if staff or administration who might have a concern would be able to submit one of these.
They would be a constituent, so I would think
Yeah.
so.
You would count them as a
Yeah.
constituent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Through
Good
I
employment.
think it might be helpful to
Yeah, it's a good
To
point.
clarify
That's a
that,
very
no,
good point.
I think that makes good sense. We've talked about it and we've assumed it, but you're right,
Mhm.
it's not necessarily stated, so probably something we need to clean up.
Can I ask what's the reasoning behind question 6?
Good question.
Yeah.
I guess what they're trying to draw out is, are you challenging this because you heard from somebody
Mhm.
that it's a concern? So, I read this review, I read this critic, that's why I'm bringing it to you. That would be my only reason for, I think they'd have this was on the CASB form.
Mhm.
So we didn't strike it, because I think there's potentially some value, but it certainly, I don't know if it's essential, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they filled out all the rest of this,
Mhm.
you know, you cited pages, audio tracks, video segments. They've talked about the purpose. I mean, I think if they've gone that far, whether they
Heard about it.
or whether
They probably
they.
would've said that in one of the
Yeah,
earlier things.
yeah, I think
I
they.
heard that such and such.
I mean, there are some districts who may discount it because, oh, you heard it on this
Right,
source, which
exactly.
we don't consider valid, so.
Exactly.
So 6, in my opinion, could be stricken if you'd
I
like it to
agree.
be.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah.
A few of the questions seem to assume, like, that whoever is reviewing is, has to defend their position in a
That
way
too
that
is somehow-
assumes
Yeah.
that the material is okay. So for
Mhm.
example, number 3 says, for what age group would you recommend this material? Well, why would they have to recommend material at all?
Yeah.
Right? If
Yeah.
they're frustrated with the material, why would they have to
Right.
recommend it's okay for any age group?
I agree.
Well, that could tie into number 2, though. What are your concerns if students use this material? Well, it's age inappropriate. Well, then it follows up with what age group would you recommend read
Yeah,
this
so
material?
maybe like, this book shouldn't be in my elementary school
Mhm.
library. I could see it being read by a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader, but 3rd grader shouldn't be read this, so I
But
think
so
that's.
maybe a question like, do you
yeah.
think this material is age appropriate for any other
Okay.
grade? Or
So
something,
really
but something that
rewording
is
it.
less
Yeah,
assuming
no.
that the material probably is okay if it was slightly different
There
circumstances.
is kind of an interrogation
Yeah.
theme to the
Well,
way the
yeah.
questions
There's a
are
little
written,
sarcasm
so,
in that
yeah,
question.
yeah. So no, I'm not opposed to rewording that, certainly in a better way. Again, we started with the form that we were provided, and
Was this CASB again?
this was CASB form.
Oh, yeah.
That's our main source.
And
Yeah.
number 5, does that really apply? Like, when I brought that book to the district's attention that my daughter had, I didn't read the whole thing, but
You read enough.
I read enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could almost open to any page in that book and find something that was
Well,
concerning.
and maybe it should be, give page numbers of examples instead of that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
I
Give
mean, 'cause
pages.
Which is
obviously
question
you don't
one.
want it to
That
go by.
Well, it says what
Excuse me, but that
parts.
question does pertain to some legal precedent, and
Mhm.
so I would prefer that you leave it in there.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
don't have to answer yes, but
Mhm.
it's a good question to have in here.
Okay.
But it does elaborate down below what parts.
Yeah.
So it kind
Oh,
of
what
alludes
parts,
to,
okay,
if
so
you didn't read the whole thing, what parts.
What
Yeah.
parts are pages?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Which is kind of covered under question
Okay.
1. Right?
thank you. Pretty
Yep.
good.
Yep. Brett, are you okay with 6 being stricken? If there's.
You have 2 numbers.
I wonder too if, with regard to the title, you would want to include, as we did in one of our earlier policy recommendations, that we have not just reference to instructional resources,
Mhm.
but perhaps library material.
Mhm.
Instructional
Yeah.
and
To make
library
it clear
resources
that
and
we're
materials.
talking about library materials too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we should be consistent,
yeah,
so,
good idea.
thank you.
It's good
And if you're making
suggestions.
notes, we have to renumber them all, because there's 2 number ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want us to take a shot at rewording them in less of
Yeah.
an aggressive format and more of? yeah,
Well, I mean, it's CASB language.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I have a thicker skin, but I'm just
That's
like,
what
whatever.
you're used to, yeah, yeah.
Well, and it's true, so the folks who are reviewing might say, for no age group, I recommend this
Yeah.
book for no age
Yeah,
group.
which would be,
Which is a
yeah.
fair response.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
some recent ones we've looked at, I would agree with that, so.
Adults should be reading this.
Yeah.
Did you say should or shouldn't?
Should.
I agree. That's what I felt.
Well, do you want them to, do you want them to email suggestions?
Yeah, any suggestions you have, please email Jamie, and we'll work together to make some adjustments. We'll run it through Brad to make sure we haven't excluded something that we have to have based on a legal case, and then we'll bring this back for a second reading so that ultimately, hopefully, we'll be closer to. And this is one, does this have to be in place also? This, just a policy, I think.
I think
is
the
what-
policy and the regulation.
Yeah, so.
Right now, we have something in place.
We don't have a form in
Okay.
place.
Not
And
a
so
form,
that's where I
just
think we
email.
should get it. Yeah, we should get a form. So I think with the feedback you've given and any that you can provide in the next couple of days, we can get something that'll be done close to.
Well, be easier than you mind reading.
Yeah, yeah, which I don't do very well at.
I did pretty good tonight, at least for my stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so, any further discussion on that one? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, next up, we have our first reading of regulation KEC-R, Public Concerns Complaints About Instructional Resources. I move that the board approve the first reading of revised regulation KEC-R, Public Concerns Complaints About Instructional Resources.
Aye. For second?
Okay, and discussion.
So this is, again, the regulations trying to capture, again, chief academic officer is ultimately the recipient of it. Again, it does say building principal, or, again, it triggers the board curriculum review committee to begin the review process. Ultimately, it outlines what they do, and then ultimately the recommendation comes to me and to you for final dispensation. So it really is just outlining what process we've put into place. So there may still be some wording changes that need to be made, but we felt like it was a good shot at capturing what the board has put into place already.
Again, we need to edit the title to be consistent. And then maybe what we need is KEC-R-1, because we'll
Yeah.
be crazy here, but, but this kind of, I mean, it's got kind of pieces of that, and then maybe we can say in here, according to R-1, because then there's the detail on that one.
Mhm.
Maybe that's where that could go, for the protocols. We'll just get crazy.
I feel like I should nod from up here instead
Yeah.
of down there. I have a humble, I go to too many board meetings, I think, but since opinions may differ in a democracy, do we care about us being
Effective.
defined as a democracy as opposed to a republic or to something else? Do we
I hate that word. I hate democracy.
Yeah.
It's the founders hated the word
This
democracy.
is an ancient word from
Yeah.
2001 that no
You-
one's ever thought about, but
Yeah.
it struck me.
Yeah, you read the Federalist Papers, they did not like the word democracy because that is a tyrannical form of government.
And I wonder if we
So-
even need to refer to, representative republic or whatever, since opinions may differ. The
Bingo.
following procedures will be observed.
I like it.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah, only
Okay.
tyrants want us to be a democracy.
All right.
I mean, other than that, it looked very similar to the reporting chain if the
Yeah.
person has an issue in the classroom, except for it goes to
Right.
curriculum review.
So we'll clean it up, again, have Brad take one final look at it, make sure there's nothing here. And then would you like us to bring back KEC-R1? We'll work with Brad to make sure
Yeah.
that that's the right placement, but we actually bring
Yeah,
our,
that way it's just sort of in the record, I guess, that
Yeah.
way that we know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously already approved.
Right.
As they are, so
Right.
we won't change those, but.
Right.
It'll be
So
in the record that
I'll
that's
I'll share
kinda how
that
we're
with you,
gonna
Brad,
connect
and you
that.
can take a look and see if that's the right placement you think.
Take a second to appreciate James. These things don't just fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
As
And
we say,
redlining
she is our glue.
hard.
Keeps us together.
Takes a lot of attention to detail.
Yes, it does. Thank you,
Some
Jamie.
grammatical
You are
errors.
the best.
Amen.
Your
Amen.
eyes would
Can-
start to cross after looking at all of these
Yeah.
for too long.
I did a lot this summer.
And Jamie, when you do, can you run just a search just for the word complaint content. I've seen it different ways across the different documents.
I noticed that too. How
Yeah,
I wrote it was different
It's,
than how
it's
you wrote it.
complainant and complainant, and
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
different,
I will
even
make
within
sure it's
same
uniform.
documents, so,
Consistent.
yeah, if you
Just
could just
We'll
make
be
it all.
consistently wrong.
Yeah.
Just be consistent, whichever way it is.
Yeah, whichever way, I looked it up, it is without a T,
T,
so.
that's what I, yeah, that's
Okay.
what Word told me as well.
All right, well, we will get rid of the T. All right.
All right. Okay, well, with that, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, any other new business?
I want to thank Brad for being
Yes.
here tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Brad, we
Thank you.
missed seeing you, and this was a perfect night for you to be here, so thank you.
All right, our next board meeting is gonna be Tuesday, August 26th, 2025, here in this boardroom at 6 PM. With that, I adjourn this meeting at 7:35 PM.
We beat the time expectation.